And we'll just give people another minute. All right, there is 10 o'clock. Welcome everybody. My name is Ian Gillespie. I'm founder of IGG Software. These webinars are new for us, and I wanted to give some of them myself to get a sense of what the technology is like, see how the content is distributed to you all, and that sort of thing. Before we get started, let me just mention a couple of things. One is there is going to be a dedicated question and answer session at the end, so if you could save your questions until then, that would be great. But I will teach you just real quickly here how to actually ask questions. So I'm going to ask you all where you're coming from. I like to get a sense of where people are logging in from, and so you should be able to write to me and let me know where you're coming in from. All right, we got Evansville, Hartlepool, UK, Houston, Atlanta, Donald, Claremont, Keith and Lake Jackson, Joe in Orange County, New York, Green Bay, Italy, welcome. It's great to see people coming in from literally across the globe. So again, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're all here. All right, so I'm going to put this away for now. That's just my little list of people I can see that have logged in. Boulder, great, welcome. Syracuse, New York, couple more, okay, excellent. Raleigh, great. All right, so I'm going to jump over to the slides here. So this webinar is about getting started with Banktivity, as you all know. Now, my guess is that you're here because there's something in your financial life that you want to improve. Whether you want to build up some savings to go on vacation, or to save for a new car, or maybe it's pay off credit card debt or student loan. There's something in your financial life that you feel like can be improved. And I just want to let you know, you're not alone, right? Debt in the US is a huge, huge issue right now. The average US household credit card debt is about $16,000. The average household debt, if you add in mortgages, jumps to $134,000. So debt is a huge thing. So I just want to let you know, you're in good company if you feel like there's something with your finances that you want to improve. So let me talk about an outline of this presentation. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about Banktivity, what it is and what it is not. Then we're going to do a demo covering account setup. And then we'll be doing another demo where I'm going to look at the summary report. And then at the end, there's going to be time for questions and answers. So Banktivity is a Mac and iOS product. Today's talk is going to focus on Banktivity 6, which runs on your Mac, but please note we do have an iPhone app and an iPad app as well. And using our Cloud Sync, you can keep all your finances all in sync together across all your devices, whether that be Mac to Mac or even just iPhone to iPhone or any combination thereof. So what is Banktivity? Well, it is an app to help you control spending, build savings, and really to get your financial house in order. What it is not is quite important. So we don't sell any of your personal financial information. There are some competitors that sell your data to people those people in turn want to actually try and sell you products which might be in conflict with your own personal financial goals. So we don't sell any of your personal financial data. Your data is yours. It lives on your computer. We don't want to know about the details of it. That's all yours. Now, the only time that your data does leave your computer or come back is if you use our cloud sync or if you use any methods to directly download transactions from your bank. But your data, all your data, the whole thing, the main file, that just lives on your computer, iPhone or iPad, whatever device you choose to use. Banktivity is also not limited to one function. It's not just a budgeting app. It's not just an app for getting your taxes ready. It is a full-featured app that covers the gamut of all the different functions you might want to do with your personal financial information. And last but certainly not least, it's not snake oil, right? Banktivity isn't going to automatically just make any money problems that you have disappear. But I will tell you, if you're willing to put in the work into using Banktivity, then it's going to help you really get your financial house in order. So let's talk about getting organized. This is the first thing you want to do with Banktivity. After you've downloaded it from our website, you have it installed on your Mac, you want to get organized by adding your accounts. Now, before I jump in and show you a demo of that, I just want to cover a couple of best practices. Add your most frequently used accounts first. This will be your checking, your credit cards, that sort of thing. We strongly recommend you use Direct Access. That is our optional subscription service that lets you download transactions from over 10 or 15,000 different banks. Now, I also want to point out that if you don't use Direct Access and you use what is called Direct Connect, Direct Download, or OFX, so all those different names for that technology, some banks charge you to use that technology. And so, for example, Wells Fargo charges about $10 a month to use OFX to directly download your transactions. Now, you can pay that to Wells Fargo and do that, that's fine, but it would make way more sense to use our Direct Access, which is $40 a year, and then you can set up and connect to as many different accounts as you want. So after you add your most frequently used accounts, you want to go into adding any loans or assets that you have, and the most common assets that people add, when I say here physical assets, the most common one is your house, if you're a homeowner. And then you want to work on cleaning and categorizing those transactions. And that's because categorizing your transactions is going to allow you later on to create a budget and get more out of your reports. And categorizing is really kind of one of the core tasks that you're going to want to regularly do when you're getting into Banktivity and updating it and checking out your finances. Banktivity supports investment accounts and tracking your rate of return, capital gains, all that sort of stuff. But I just recommend people add that later. First, add your most frequently used accounts, clean and categorize. Once you're getting more comfortable with the app, then add your investment accounts. So with that, let's launch into our demo. Just one sec here. All right, so you'll see I have here a Banktivity document. And this is a file where all your financial data that you add into Banktivity or you put into Banktivity will reside, and this is where you look at it and interact with it. I would say 95% of our customers will only ever have one file for Banktivity. And this file is going to live on your hard drive, wherever you choose to store it. It's just like any other file on your Mac. If you have a small business or you're managing somebody else's finances, you can have multiple documents that allows you to track separate sets of accounts and keep those accounts completely separate. But like I said, about 95% of our customers just use one document. So let's go ahead and walk through adding an account. You'll see here that under accounts, we can hide show. There's nothing is going to show up there because we have not added any accounts yet. So I'm going to go to this plus button, choose add account. first question asks, is the account you're setting up at a bank, or is this something else that you're going to add, like a house or an investment property or something like that? And so almost all the time you just keep the default selected here and then move forward. Next, you get to choose what bank you're adding. So I'm going to go through an example where I'm going to add a Citi credit card. So I type in Citi, start typing credit, and it automatically shows up there. I'm going to choose next. And here is where the app asks you how you want to connect with this bank account. How do you want to allow Banktivity to get the transactions into the app? And so for this demo, we are going to be choosing direct access, but it looks like Citibank does support direct download, so you could choose that option. I don't know offhand if they charge you a fee for that. And your other option here is to choose manual or web download. And this would allow you to log into your bank's website, download a file, and import it into Banktivity. But for our example, we're going to use direct access. So to use direct access or our cloud sync, which is the technology that allows to keep all your financial data in sync across all your devices, that requires a Banktivity ID. Now, Banktivity ID is free. It is just an ID that associates you as a person with the services that you use from IGG software, like direct access and or cloud sync. So if you don't have a Banktivity ID, on this screen you can click Create Banktivity ID, and this would just be, your standard, sort of user account where you're going to choose a username, a password, an email address, that sort of thing. I happen to have one right here that I'm going to use. And I'm going to log in, and now it's going to ask me to enter my credentials for my Citi credit card. And so these would just be the credentials that I would use to log into Citi's website. Now I'm going to jump over to another file right now, so we don't have to walk you through entering credentials and letting it connect and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to jump to a file that I have set up that shows you what this account looks like, what this document looks like just after the import. So you'll see we now have a credit card here under accounts. This is the one we just added, my credit card. I'm going to select it, and you're going to get a list of all the transactions here. You'll also notice that the credit card balance is negative. Now, don't let this throw you off. That is because this is money you owe. Throughout Banktivity, we have positive amounts and negative amounts. And negative amounts refer to debt, money you owe, and positive amounts refers to money that you have, or money coming in as opposed to money going out. You'll also notice that these transactions all have this green badge here that says new. And that's because these have all just been imported. After 24 hours, that badge will disappear. And so as you're using the app, it's just a good way, to see, oh, look, I have some new transactions. Over here next to the account, you'll see this asterisk. This is just showing you have a lot of new transactions. Normally, if it's just a few new transactions, we put the number right here. Let's say it was 5 new transactions. But if it's over 99, so if it's 100 or more, we put the asterisk in here because trying to show 100 in there or even a larger number just really isn't feasible. Anytime that you would want to update this account and have the app go out, connect, and see if there's any new transactions, you can click this refresh button here, and it will go out and download any stock quotes that you might want. It'll go out, look for new transactions, and that sort of thing. So let me show you what I meant about cleaning and categorizing. So we have an account selected here, the one I added, and you can see that we have all these new transactions. Now some of these look good. This says Caldera, and here's the category, dining restaurant. So that's right, I went to a restaurant there, and here's another restaurant I went to called Standing Stone. And then here's another something. Oh, look at this. This is a Vista bill pay uncategorized. And so, oh, I know what this is. This is my gas bill. So to edit a transaction, which I want to do because I don't want that uncategorized. I want that to be categorized so that it'll help me later with building a budget and analyzing my finances with reports. I'm going to hit return or double click, and then we sort of go into edit mode. Now I'm just going to clean up this payee and say that's just called a Vista, and the category is utilities. I'm going to hit return, and you'll see now the app is going to say, hey, we found some other transactions just like this. Do you want us to, clean this up like the one you just cleaned up? And I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And that makes cleaning up and categorizing your transactions a lot easier. Now, when the app goes out and sets up an account for the first time and it downloads that data, we try to get a year's worth of transactions. Not all banks support that. So then we try and get 90 days. Not all banks support that, and so we might end up actually getting less. But if you end up getting a year's worth of transactions, don't feel like you need to go in and categorize all those transactions going back an entire year. It actually wouldn't take that long, but you don't really need to do it. What I recommend doing is cleaning up and categorizing those transactions going back maybe 1 or possibly 2 months. So I've gone back to the beginning of July. I can just show you one more. Here's Ashland Hardware. I'm going to hit return and just say this is really an Ace Hardware, and this is going to be category household. Hit return to save. Found some other ones. Yeah, go ahead and clean those up. And there we go. Those get all cleaned up and categorized as well. So that is adding an account, showing how to clean up and categorize your transactions. And I want to point out one other thing. As you clean up and categorize your transactions, the app memorizes those transactions for you so that the next time one downloads, or if you're going to enter a transaction manually, which you can do, it makes it much easier to add all those transactions back in. So I'm going to just add, I'll show you an example. I'm going to add a transaction here. I'm going to click the plus button. And let's say that I know, oh yeah, this morning I went back to the hardware store because I needed to get some parts for, some irrigation I'm working on or whatever it is, or maybe I bought some light bulbs. I just start typing A and it shows me, here are all your payees that you've already told us about. And so I'm just going to hit return to select Ace Hardware. It automatically fills in the category. It fills in the last amount that we spent there, but which in this case is not the same, but I know that I spent, $3. And so adding transactions actually is very quick and easy. And as you clean and categorize, the system will learn more and it should get easier and easier as things go on. So I'm going to jump back to my slides. All right, so that was adding the accounts. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to talk about the summary view in Banktivity. And specifically, there are 2 key numbers in the summary view that Banktivity will calculate for you without having to do a single thing except add your accounts. And I like to show this because you don't have to create any reports or set up any reports like that to get some valuable information. Just add your accounts and Banktivity will calculate a couple of great numbers for you. That first number is your net worth. This is how much am I worth? It's all the money you have minus all the money you owe. Now, for some people, this number could be negative. For example, if you recently graduated from college and you have some hefty student loans, your net worth might be negative. And I would recommend, if that's the case, try and get your net worth to 0. Make that your first goal. And then after that, try and get your net worth to, $1,000 and work your way up from that. Now, the other number it calculates is savings rate. Now, this is a great number because it tells you if you are spending more than the amount of money you have coming in, or if you're spending less than the amount coming in. If the savings rate number is positive, that's great. That means that of all the money you have coming in, the money that you're getting paid or receiving, you're spending less than that. And so you're actually saving some of it. That's where you want to be. If it's negative, it's the opposite. It means that you are spending more than you make and you are essentially going into debt. So in the summary view, we show the net worth right here called current worth, and savings rate is down here. We calculate it for the previous year and the current 30 days. But let's jump into a demo. So now I'm going to bring up a data file that is, I don't know, I'd say maybe a little more realistic. Here is a document we have called sample data, and it has a bunch of accounts. So you can see over here in these groups, which are, you can create groups if you want to organize your accounts. I have all types of things set up. I have a credit card, I have checkings, I have savings, a money market, I have some loans, I have investments and other retirements. This is what a data file might look like for somebody in their mid-30s who recently has purchased a home. They might have a car loan and that sort of thing. And when we'll go up to the top here and click on Summary, and the app is going to give us a rundown of sort of all your finances. This is sort of the 30,000-foot view of your finances. Think of it as sort of a dashboard. And up here we have our net worth. So this person is positive. They're getting close to 300,000. Great job, congratulations. And down here we have the savings rate. And now this is sample data, but this person is doing an exceptional job. They're saving 70% of their income. They're saving. They're not spending that. That's the average over the last 365 days. They're doing excellent. In the last 30 days, they've been saving 61%. That is huge. So my point here is not to show you necessarily these numbers are terribly realistic, although I'm sure some people hit them. The point is to show you that we do calculate these great numbers for you in the summary screen and give you a little insight on how to interpret them. Now, some people do make it a goal to hit a certain savings rate. For example, I might want to try and have a savings rate of 50% every 30 days. Now, for some people, that's going to be very, very difficult to do, which is fine. Maybe your savings rate is just to hit 0, where you're not losing any money, right? That's maybe the first step, and then after that, it might be trying to hit a savings rate of just 5%. Whatever it is, that's where you can see it. That's what it means. You get this kind of quote-unquote for free after you've added your accounts and transactions into Banktivity. Jump back over to the slides again. So that was adding accounts, looking at the summary screen, getting an overall sense of what your finances are like. What are the next steps? I encourage you, the most important thing to do next after you've added your accounts is set up a budget. Now tomorrow we have a webinar on using envelope budgeting in Banktivity. Envelope budgeting is a tried and true method for budgeting your money, and it works really, really well at making sure you hit some of your budgeting goals. So I encourage you to sign up for that tomorrow. It's the same time. The other thing you should be doing is commit to regular checkups. And this means launch Banktivity, say, once a week, or heck, even every day. Let it go out, fetch your transactions, clean them up, categorize them, look at your finances. No one is more interested in your finances than yourself. So I encourage you all to take control of your own finances. Start looking at them. I know for some people it's more tedious than others and harder for others, but if you can make that shift and commit to wanting to look at your finances all the time and understand where your money is going, where it's coming from, it's going to help you out for the long haul. So let's move on to questions. You should be able to, in the control panel, ask questions there. All right, now I'm probably going to get more questions than I can answer right off the bat. And I'm going to start here with Sharon. My bank requires not only a user ID and password, but sends me a unique code to enter when accessing online accounts. Direct access experiencing any issues due to this. So I have a bank account like this myself. It works fine for me. The thing is, every bank is different, and our back-end provider has to handle all the different permutations for this. So I can't give a blanket statement that like, oh yes, this works for every bank, or no, it doesn't work. But this sort of technical question, you definitely want to try and get on with our live chat so that they can either figure out if the problem is on our end or an issue with our back-end provider. All right, so Brian asks, can I add accounts like a gas bill or an electric bill? So in Banktivity, we talk about accounts being sort of the real life accounts that you have out there in the world, right? Your checking account, your savings account, your credit card. And then we have categories, which are things like your utilities, right? For like your electric bill or your gas bill. You can customize those categories to whatever you want. And behind the scenes, they kind of act like accounts. I hope I'm answering your question. And then just in case that didn't answer your question, please know that you can set up scheduled transactions. And so these are transactions that are going to repeat every month, like a gas bill or an electric bill. All right, I'm going to move down to Christopher. We just refinanced our mortgage and it's scheduled to be serviced. Can I add a mortgage to Banktivity and update it without paying their fees? This is the bank's fees. Yes, so if this is a case with Wells Fargo, so Wells Fargo is charging you fees to automatically connect and download transactions. If you are not using that type of connection in Banktivity and you use our subscription service, you can absolutely cancel that. So you should be able to add your Wells Fargo mortgage and have that updated in Banktivity as well. Now, I will point out, of all the various accounts, the mortgage is probably the easiest account to just track manually once you set it up, and you can set up a scheduled transaction just to fire every month and post it every month, and it'll do all the right math for you with amortizing that loan. But you can also set it up to just update automatically as well. Terry, I set up banks and credit cards using GoToWeb. I assume that means you use our built-in web browser. That's another way you can get transactions into there. Here's Matt. How does the savings rate work? I know I'm spending more than I'm receiving, but it says I have a positive savings rate. Does it include investments? The savings rate, I just have to think back here, reach into my brain, pull out all the details about savings rate. I believe the savings rate will calculate any money that you receive from investments. So if you have an investment that's paying a dividend and that's showing up as cash into your account, that's going to show up as income to the system. You can't currently configure the summary page to exclude certain accounts, so maybe you aren't interested in the income that you're getting from your investments and you'd like to exclude that. You can't currently do that. It is certainly requested frequently, so we'll see what we can do. Copy of a copy of the presentation slides. We're going to try and post this whole thing online, so you should be able to watch it again and scrub through it. Here's Cheryl asking about other webinars that we have. So right now we just have the 2 webinars, Getting Started and Mastering Envelope Budgeting in Banktivity. Assuming people keep showing up, we'll be adding more. They've been a lot of fun and I think they're very effective. So we don't have any other ones now, but my best guess is that we will be adding more in the short future. I'd like to try the direct download. Can I do that without deleting and starting over? Yes, you can. What you'll want to do is find your account in Banktivity, double click it, a little popover will appear and it will show you how you're connected currently, and it'll say that in a button. It'll say either direct download or direct access. Click that button and a sheet will come down showing you kind of more information about how that account is connected. When was the last time it updated? Which bank is it connected to, and that sort of thing. On that sheet that comes down, there is a button that you can say take offline, and that'll sort of remove all the connection info from it, and then you can set it up again by going to the account menu, and there is a configure account downloads, I think it's called, or configure download transactions. It's under the account menu. Corinne, I'm sorry that you didn't find this webinar useful. We covered adding accounts in the summary screen. Please send me questions to webinars@iggsoftware.com, and I'd be happy to try and help you out or have somebody help you out. The webinars are new. We're still refining what the appropriate content is to fit into a 25-minute presentation. Signed up. Here's a question from Edward. Signed up for direct access. Some of my investment accounts do not support it. They have a Quicken option, but not the QIF format. I believe if you if you log into your investment accounts website and choose to export the transactions in the Quicken format, Banktivity should be able to import that. It imports QIF files, OFX files, QFX, or QFX files. And my guess is that the bank will be able to export one of those, even if they don't call it that. What about monthly transactions where the amounts vary? So this is sort of something more that we cover probably under budgeting. Some scheduled transactions are more appropriate to add than others. If it's a repeating bill and the amount is the same or very close to the same, that's a great candidate to add as a scheduled transaction. If it's something that varies wildly, maybe you don't want to add it at all and wait till you actually pay that amount, or you download that amount from your bank. I can't tell you there's a right or wrong answer to that. You could set it up and change it every month if you wanted to. Christopher says their bank lets them enter categories, pays, and memos, I guess presumably on the bank's website, but when I import to Banktivity, why can't I see those entries in Banktivity? I don't know if I know the answer to that offhand. It really depends on how you're connecting. It's a little bit more of a technical support question. If you're using direct access, we don't get categorized transactions from there, so I could see how that would be lost, but I would expect probably the payee and memo to show up. If you're exporting that data manually, then it would be your bank isn't putting the payee and category and memo into the file that's exported. Any plans to include a debt payoff calculator or porting? So there is one report based on debts and liabilities, and it will show you how long it's going to take you to pay off a loan and how much you're going to pay in interest. And there is a little box there that gives you a what-if scenario where you can say, well, what if I add $300 more to the principal every month? And it'll recalculate it for you there. So that's an existing report. I don't have any plans to discuss. I can't really discuss any future plans about a debt payoff calculator right now. Terry wants to know how I can generate a report. Up in the top left of the app, there is a plus button where we click to add the account, and there is a drop-down menu there. One of the items is add report. And when you select that, a sheet will come down and sort of walk you through the reports. We call it the report setup assistant because it walks you through what type of report you want, what date range to cover, and that sort of thing. I use my credit card and checking account for general use. Will categories separate the transactions properly? You could set it up so that actually, let me rephrase that. You use your credit card and your checking account for regular use. You probably don't want to separate your categories out. I'm kind of the same way. If I go to the grocery store, I might use my debit card, but that's still groceries I'm buying. Or if I go to a different grocery store and I use my checking account, it's still groceries I'm buying, so I want to separate those out. Now, you could, there's a number of different ways that I want to keep those together. I don't want them separated out. There are a number of ways that you could separate those out. If you wanted to, you could use our tagging feature or have additional custom categories. Donald, where do I sign up for the budget webinar? If you go to our main website, iggsoftware.com. In fact, I'll just type it in right here. Here's the link. I'm going to send this to everyone in case anyone else is interested in signing up. When one registers for a webinar, the expectation is to be given a link to it. I got nothing. When you register for the webinar, it should show you a section where you can enter your name and email at the bottom of our web page. And when you hit register, you should then get an email that has the link for registering it. If that's not happening for you, Corinne, please let me know. Used to use iBank, did not like the user unfriendly having to check mark or not categories. Is Banktivity easier? This is Terry. So we've certainly have matured the product a lot over the years. It's no exaggeration for me to say that Banktivity 6 is the biggest update in the history of the product. We essentially rewrote the whole thing from the ground up, moving to a more advanced accounting engine and tried to rethink a lot of the UI elements. We think it's a great update. Did we get everything right? Of course not. There's always room for improvement. But by and far, the majority of feedback we get is people are really happy with version 6. Like to see the ability to add spacing between the account listing and the sidebar. You can change the size of the icons and the text in the sidebar if you want under Preferences. Going on to Cheryl. Would Banktivity at least remind me to pay that variable bill? Yes. In the top right corner, there is a little calendar button with an arrow on it, and that'll get badged with the number of transactions that you asked to be reminded about. So if you say, remind me about this bill 5 days in advance, and you launch Banktivity 5 days before that bill is due, there will be a little 1 up there indicating like, hey, there's one transaction that you wanted to be reminded about. Is there a way to create a pay report that compares month to month in a sequence? You can create a payee report and you can compare one date range to another. So you could create a payee report showing how much money you spent on various payees, and you could compare that from July to June, or July of this year to June of last year, and that sort of thing. Under accounts, is there a way to show them in subcategories? No, we don't currently support sub accounts. So the example is wife has a 401k with several accounts, and then my 401k with several accounts. Without going into the exact structure of how your 401k is set up, you would probably want to add one 401k account for your wife or multiple, and one 401k for you or multiple, depending on how it's set up. But you could create groups in the sidebar to organize those however you want. So if your wife, if you find out that you do want to add 3 401ks for your wife, you could group those under one group called, my wife's 401ks or something like that. Chris, you're very welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Quicken instructions available from online instructors. How about iBank instruction? This is Keith. So this is our kind of first step into providing, live instruction. I guess I'd be interested in hearing more about what you would like to see. I'm not familiar with Quicken's online instructions. But if you would, I assume maybe you're interested in kind of a more in-depth class that would maybe meet regularly and go through maybe all the components of the product. Didn't happen for you, Corinne. If you could maybe email me, Corinne, webinars@iggsoftware.com, and I can try and we can try and work through glitches there. Jim, what are tags? Great question. So this is kind of an advanced feature. But the use for tags goes something like this. You go on vacation, and while you're on vacation, you rent a car, which you categorize as travel. You have to buy gas for the car, which you categorize as, automobile fuel. You buy some groceries because you're staying at an Airbnb, so you categorize that as groceries. But, you're buying more expensive groceries because you're on vacation and you want to have, ice cream every night and a nice bottle of wine. And so that expense is, it's kind of going above your regular grocery spending. And then you ask the question, well, how much did the whole vacation cost? There's not a great way to see that quickly. You could, try and create a report based on specific date ranges and that sort of thing. But what you can do with tags is you could tag every single transaction that had to do with your vacation. You would tag it vacation. And then you can look at the spending you had on that vacation by just looking at the spending in that tag. This is back to Ralph. Ralph wants to keep the same categories from checking to savings. So the app just does that automatically. There's one set of categories. So in this case, one of the categories in your set is called groceries. It doesn't matter whether you're editing your transactions in your checking account, your credit card account. When you say that the category is groceries, it's always going to be using that same category, and it'll report across your accounts and budget across all your accounts appropriately. Matt, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Jim, you're welcome. Ralph wants to and a pay report wants to compare January to February to March to April to May. You currently can't do that. You can only compare two discrete date ranges. So you could compare January to February, or you could compare even May to February, but you can't break it down month by month by month by month by month. Great request, though. Christopher, I'll try and take a look at, have someone look at that ticket. Sorry for the delay. Terry, you're very welcome. Lynn, you're welcome. Chris asked, why is there a folder in the left column with a question mark? We don't put any folders in the what we call the sidebar by default, and we certainly wouldn't put one there with a question mark in it. So my guess is that you created an account group and accidentally gave it a name of question mark. That just be my guess without going into it. This is Paul. I use iBank 4 presently. Inputs transactions manually. I reconcile transactions that have passed through the account using the tick box option under the date. Is this available in Banktivity? Yes, that, if I'm understanding you correctly, Paul, that hasn't really changed at all between iBank 4 and Banktivity 6. Can you import? Yes, you can. Banktivity 6, the question is, can I import transactions from iBank 4? Yes, Banktivity 6 will actually just import your old iBank 4 file and just bring everything in. And it'll actually leave your iBank 4 file untouched if for whatever reason you wanted to refer to it back in iBank 4. Joe, you're very welcome. Edward, you're welcome. See you later. Have a good day. Ralph, thank you. We'll do our best at adding more sessions. Thank you, Joe. So we offer upgrade. This is a question from Paul. We offer upgrade pricing from iBank 5/Banktivity 5 to Banktivity 6, but we don't offer upgrade pricing if you're upgrading from an earlier version like iBank 4 or iBank 3. Ralph, glad to hear that we're better than Quicken. We certainly think so. Just figured the folder with the question that designates uncategorized transactions. Okay, I think I follow you there, Christopher. Gray, you're very welcome. You're welcome, Matt. See you tomorrow. And Enrique, you're very welcome. Looks like that's all of our questions for today. Thank you all very much for coming, and I hope to see some of you tomorrow. And have a great day.